It's hard not to notice Donnovan Bennett. The host of radio, producer of features, author of articles, DJ's a jack of all trades. Peppered throughout his ascension to being one of Canada's media stars is an undeniable passion for sports.
I don't really remember a moment where sports wasn't in my life. It's like kind of like oxygen. I knew if I wasn't going to be playing, I wanted to be tied to it in some way, some shape or form.
Donnovan grew up in Toronto, but spent his childhood in Markham, Ontario. He knew early on he possessed athletic abilities. While attending St. Andrews College, Donnovan captained the high school football team as a running back. Through football at Sac, he met Mike Faulds, and the two crossed paths again with the Western Mustangs as a quarterback-tailback duo.
It is the relationships, and mine and DJ's is a great example. He's the best man at my wedding. I stood up as one of his groomsmen at his wedding. But that's something that team sports often does. It brings you super close together.
When he started talking about what he wanted to do with his life, there was never anything but, I want to go into broadcast journalism.
While at Western, Donnovan took a chance in the sports media field as an intern for CFL Snap. This turned into a job at The Score, launching his career, where he now works as a multi-platform journalist at Sportsnet. From the proof of concept to the final product, DJ thrives in the creative process.
DJ is quite cerebral, he's quite calm, he's quite quiet. So he may share an idea with me or we may talk something through, but most of the time, he's a nighthawk, so he'll stay up at night and work, and then the next day just drop, I wrote this piece last night.
It normally just starts with like a half-baked idea on my iPhone on the Notes app. 95% of them will not come to fruition. They won't see the light of day, but that is why it's a little bit more rewarding when they do come to fruition, when they are on a television screen or they are on a web page or leading our home site.
Donovan's most important work is highlighting the intersection between sports and social issues, such as race, gender, politics, and diversity. In 2020, these intersections reached a crescendo after the senseless murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Anti-Black racism protests sparked across North America.
Our lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter.
For Donnovan, a tsunami of radio, television, and podcast appearances, trying to explain this racial reckoning.
But for me, it was no different. And because it was no different, I was somewhat jaded at the beginning of it. I kind of didn't want to talk about it and didn't want to cover it because I felt like it was a bit exploited. It became a trend. And I was really uncomfortable with that. I'll always remember Morgan Campbell spoke up and said, no, forget that. And no, this is too important to sit out, no matter how you're feeling personally. This is bigger than you. Sadly, it's been a transformative moment in my career, but I've tried to be very intentional in not just creating content about issues like that, but using the moment, the racial reckoning that we're having, to find ways that I can not just create content, but I can also create some real change and impact in the way our industry operates.
When you're someone who is one of the only ones in a space, I think you probably do feel a lot of pressure to pull others up behind you. What I love about DJ when it comes to listening or watching him role model, he keeps it very real. For Desi to have DJ as a role model, I mean, he couldn't have anyone better.
This is a man who has a high motor. He's very ambitious. He's hardworking, and he's not easily satisfied. My words to DJ are just keep bringing it.
I hear from people, specifically in the Black community, that it means something to them to see me on TV or read my work. There's a handful of us, period, at a national level, never mind ones that are not just asking questions, but giving opinions. And so I am pretty optimistic that these things will change, specifically because I think the younger generation is a lot better on these issues. I'm just wanting to see that change happen urgently because it's overdue.